Well, howdy, everybody. My name's Cooter Pickleberry. This is Florida Man Cooking, and today we're making some chili for tailgate parties. So, football season's starting. I think that if you're going to tailgate, you got to have chili. It's probably the most important thing because it goes with everything. You can make it with dogs, burgers, tofu, whatever. It's an all around good food. We make it with a little bit of spice in it. You can always add more. You can always add a little cayenne pepper to it to make it a little hotter if you want to. But if you don't like a little bit of heat in your chili, then I'm not sure we can really be friends because you got to have a little bit. You want it to grab you by the throat and punch you in the mouth a little bit so you know what you're eating. It's really good stuff. It's a very simple, quick make. This is the kind of thing that you can do the morning of a tailgate party, and within an hour you're done, and most of it's just sitting and watching it cook. So it's pretty easy stuff. Here we go. Thanks. All right, so we're going to start chili by firing up the stove and getting a big sweet pepper and later a jalapeno and just cooking them directly on the flame. We'll speed this thing up so you don't see it. It only takes a couple minutes per pepper, but having that flame cook on it is really good. It's going to get all black. We just take that black and we will rub it off with a wet paper towel. Not all of it. Leave a little bit of it because that's your flavors. Flavors is good. Chili's all about whatever you want to make it out of. So I have some ingredients in mind that some people don't use, and I've heard some people are putting ginger and cocoa powder and all sorts of stuff in theirs. I don't do that. But that's basically what the pepper looks like when it's about done. And we just wipe some of that black stuff off, leave a little bit, and you get a really nice roasted flavor in the chili with that. We do the same thing with a jalapeno. They're a little bit harder to balance on the stove, so I may drop it once or twice, but there you go. But they come out good. It's the same thing. We'll scrape that down a little bit with a paper towel, and then we'll cut some of the seeds out. If you leave the seeds in and the guts in, that's what makes the pepper hot. The flesh itself isn't that bad. I like a little bit of heat, but I always add a little bit of cayenne pepper to the bowl. Here's a little onion going in. Got about 2¼ pounds of 90-10 ground beef. You can put sausage in there with it, or ground chicken, ground turkey. Pretty much anything you want. Or sometimes I use leftover little bits of the trimmings from a beef tenderloin when I butcher that up to make chateaubriand or whatever. I'll save the scraps and use that in chili as well, so it's chunky. This isn't really Texas chili because we had beans and stuff. It's just a quick, easy homemade chili. It doesn't take long at all. Cut some jalapenos up for topping later in the bowl. And same thing, just kind of get rid of most of the seeds if you don't want too much heat. If you want heat, leave the seeds in and you get some. You get some either way, but you get a lot more if you have some seeds in there and the guts. So we'll just chop those up. That's just going to go on it once it's done. Back to the pot. The ground beef is pretty much done. I don't typically drain all of the fat out of it. I like a little bit in there. We'll throw one big white onion in and cook that down just a few minutes. And then garlic takes less time to cook, so that goes in next. Once we get everything stirred in. And the garlic, the whole thing's going to turn into, essentially a soup. So it's all going to soften up anyway. I just like to start it this way. And that gets that meat a little bit of flavor. Garlic takes a lot less time and it'll burn easily on you. So if you don't want crunchy garlic, just put it in, give it a quick stir. And then we just pretty much get into dumping everything in. I'm not going to show all that because it takes too much time, but I do have in the description below, you'll see a list of all the stuff that got dumped in there. So it's, beans and chili powder. And then we cap it off with a beer. Now, I usually like to use a nice dark beer for this. I didn't have any, but I did have some ice cold PBR, and that works pretty good too. So threw one can of beer in, and then because the beer is a great flavor, but I want it in the background, I'll stick some beef stock on the top of that. Or not beef stock, I actually use this, which is a pretty handy product. It's better than bouillon, and I put 2 tablespoons or so of this goopy bouillon mixture in, and man, it just adds a little kick to it with a nice beefy flavor. The overwhelming flavor here, however, is going to be the chilies. And then because I like mushrooms, I think they absorb flavor great. I stick a pack of mushrooms in there too. A lot of people don't think mushrooms are appropriate in chili. I'm telling you, you eat this stuff, put in whatever you want. Any vegetable you want is great. You're just looking for bulk volume, a lot of meat, a lot of chili, a lot of seasoning, and I just think the mushrooms do a great job of holding all that together. So I put that in there on mine. I make this about once a week in the winter. A little pepper, a little kosher salt. Those are just flavor enhancers. You can stick some MSG in there if you're prone to doing that. That helps too. I don't generally use it though, but I do have some. So bring that to a boil, and then we add the sweetener. I put in about 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, dark brown sugar, not really packed necessarily. I just kind of shoved it in a bowl and stuck it in there. And then really what happens here is you got to start tasting it. So you'll take a few nips, let it cool off because this stuff's boiling hot. But you can see the red peppers floating around in there. You can see a little jalapeno floating around in there, the mushrooms, 3 different kinds of beans, onion, garlic, and then some chili powder. And again, the chili powders are all different. You can make your own or you can just buy some. I generally just buy it. So when we're all done, we'll stick it in a bowl. It looks like that. And I'll throw a few fresh jalapenos on top, no seeds, or not many seeds anyway. Some green onions cut up real small, a little bit of cheese, a dollop of sour cream, and then some crunchy fried onions that I bought in a bag. Some people use it for salads. They're absolutely excellent chili. That's kind of how it looks when it's done. God bless you. We'll see you next time.